Anticipate, don't improvise. My process is purely logistical, narrowly focused by design. I'm not here to take sides. It's not my place to formulate any opinion. No one who can afford me needs to waste time winning me to some cause. I serve no god or country. I fly no flag. If I'm effective, it's because of one simple fact. I don't give a fuck.
A record-breaking $6 or $7 trillion was traded in the stock market the first half of 2025, a new all-time high. So a lot to talk about in this video, everybody. Welcome to Market Makers, your home for tomorrow's TA today. Be sure to give me a follow on X at Market Canary. I'll be traveling this week to South Florida. This may be my only videos for the week. There'll be a Bitcoin video, crypto video after this video, so make sure you watch both of those videos. We're going to cover the summer rally, guys. Check out SimpleFX if you want to trade these markets and live outside the US. Become a Market Makers VIP only with our link, and check out marketmakers.trade to join our financial freaking like P. Diddy's in the room. Financial seeking Discord community, guys. Love to see you in the room. You can join right from our website, marketmakers.trade. Let's start off on fear and greed. We are at a 78 extreme greed. Remember, just in April, we were at a 4, and that is when we initiated the buying. Bought Tesla at the lows, Solana at the lows, got a silver trade shortly after. Solana went up 97%, Tesla went up 70%, took profits in both of those. Still in my silver trade, which is up like 18% now. It's almost $37. And we want to talk about what's coming because the summer rally is going to commence. Remember, as you are in extreme greed, that's when you get the tops. Right when everybody's starting to flip bullish is when you start looking for these tops. Let's just look at this here on ES, guys. And there's timestamps below. We're going to cover ES, which is S&P futures, NQ for NASDAQ futures, a spider, and triple Qs in this video, okay? So let's look at ES. Three-way fractal, your ABC. We're going to look at some geometry here in the marketplace. Oh, by the way, my AI. Name my AI Archimedes. Archie for short. So thank you everybody for the suggestions. Archimedes is considered one of the greatest mathematicians of all time. He worked with a lot of geometrical theorems, and he was also an astronomer and a physicist. So naturally it reminded Lee of me. So that's the name that I came up with. But I did some data modeling with Archie, which is really cool because I'm going to show you some different projections in future videos of what are some alternative scenarios to what happens after we hit these higher targets of 71.22, 74.44, because it may surprise you. It's really interesting. But let's look at the current market situation. Looking at our ABC fractal, we have 200%, okay? 200% off of the pandemic low. You see this? 200% up. If we get to 65.22 here on S&P futures, this also has this gap here from January 2022, this void. L'appel du vide, call of the void. That's French, Lee.
Evidently, Mr. Ringo's an educated man. Now I really hate him.
And I think this is going to fill by price action over here, giving you this 200% move, okay? So when we look at this and you get some measurements, notice this measurement off of the January 2022 high up to get to this target, 64.36, 65.22, 35.66%. Look at the April 7th low. If you go straight up, 35%. The market moves in symmetry. You see this in Bitcoin. You see it in all the assets, guys. This is the core thesis of being a geometric trader, understanding rates of growth and decay in the marketplace. 64.36, 65.22. Why are we so focused on July for months when everybody was telling you this is a dead cat bounce, and they're urgently running on all the podcasts to tell you, don't buy now, don't buy, it's a dead cat bounce? Well, this is why I've been focused on July for months. Look at what you did in July 2023. July, here on the 5-day chart, that was July 25th. and you sold off 11%. Late July top, mid-July top in 2024, and you sold off 10.5%. Once we reach our summer rally, we're going to get the 10% retracement. That's when big dumb money will enter the market, okay? So Archie gave me the the max top for the bull market here at 71.22 in the data modeling that I did. Max bull at 74.42. After we get the 10%, after all the funds that missed the rally re-enter the market, that's what you'll be accelerating up to, okay? So the trade plan is the same. The trade plan is to short this top for the correction, get this 10% correction, come back down, right? 5,700 is the goal I was looking at. 5,700, I want to be long down here because this is going to be a big leg up. You're looking at what? You're looking at 600-700 points down, but you're looking at 1,400 to 1,700 points to the upside. And then we'll see in some future videos, I'll give you guys some ideas of what it's going to do when it gets up to this level, okay? Now, that's a three-way fractal. Many of you probably practice Elliott wave theory. I do not understand Elliott wave theory as it is practiced is based on Prechter and Frost rules. It's a trading system with rules, but three-way fractals become five-way fractals, and this is another way you can look at it here in the marketplace. I just did this for you, but you have your pandemic cycle starts, you have your first big retracement, okay? So you have wave one up, then you have wave two down, then you have wave three. All this was wave three all the way out to your peak on February 14th where you sold back off 21.64%. This is wave 5 coming back up. And you even have alternation in this methodology. 27% down move, 5-way fractal. This was an ABC, as you guys know, covered that extensively. I saw many people on YouTube copying that idea. But look at this. This was a 5-way fractal, corrective fractal to the downside, okay? 5-wave correction. Then you got a reversal. Here's your 3. Here's your 4. Here's your 5. It also had Fibonacci, beautiful Fibonacci support. Reversal, 5-way fractal, and then you did a 3-wave over here. And this is on a 5-day chart, and you can still see it. Let me open this up. 5-wave or 3-wave down. There's your A, that was your B, and there is your C. Okay, so you had alternation here, 5-wave fractal, going to retrace, get the rubber band effect, 71.22, 74.42. Those are the upside targets I'll be looking after we hit our summer rally target. Now, if we look at this simplified version here, summer rally target 64.36, 65.22 completes that 200% move, which would be absolutely gorgeous for the geometry in the marketplace. 10% retracement. If we just get to like 64.50, I'm looking for this retracement to fill that gap, the capitulation gap down there at 5,700, okay? If we come down to that level, but we look at it from Fibonacci just as a projection, 58.50 down to 56.50. Somewhere in here, we're going to rebound and reverse back up. We look at the cardinal points in the market, the 3 weeks surrounding the fall equinox around September 21st, the spring equinox around March 21st. Those are potential timing lines here to hit these targets, okay? 71.22, 74.42. And again, I'll go over in future videos the Archie data modeling for what happens when we hit those targets. For now, focus on the swings because these are amazing trades. If we can get up here and get short at target, get that 10% retracement, and then get the 14 to 1,700 points to the upside, oh, it'll be absolutely amazing. I will be taking, and don't forget, once you get this, we're going to get a retracement, right? So once this is in, this trade's in, we get some type of movement like that, I'll be floating around in the Gulf of America with a nice drink in my hand on a boat, okay? That's what I'll be doing because that's going to be an amazing trade too, but that's down the road. Let's look at our lunar cycles because they're playing out absolutely beautiful. Look at the last pivot, right? So we had the new moon. Didn't know if it was going to be a top or bottom. Price was rising into it. Got a doji candle the day of, and clearly a continuation pivot to the upside, right? We had the previous full moon, exact top to the day, went sideways. Again, these don't have to be massive movements in the market. July 10th is the next pivot, July 10th. Why is that important? Let's look at why it's important. 2023. What did we do in this fractal? I made that special video for you guys. What was it? Wednesday before last, go back and watch it. I cover the summer rally fractals for the markets, but Bitcoin did the same thing. But look at what we did in 2023, okay? This is really important. 2023, July 5th, which was the day after, well, 4th of July this year was on Friday. So July 3rd, when the market was still open, but look at July 5th. So you topped here, you went sideways for 2 days, you sold off for 3 days. On that third day, he rose again. On that third day, July 10th, you put in the low, and then you did a 5% rally to the upside that third day. So if this fractal repeats, you're looking at, you had some selling in futures already, right? You're looking at possibly Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday being sideways or down days. If it ends up bottoming on July 10th, and then look for the reversal potentially if it tracks to that 2023 fractal, because it's coming up to the summer rally target, okay? And then you had a 5-wave retracement to the downside, and that retracement 11% move. And a couple of things to note here, guys, about market timing. Understand the hierarchy of how things work in this space. So Bitcoin typically tops first at major tops, okay? They all retrace together. They all break out together oftentimes, but at major tops, Bitcoin usually tops first. The NASDAQ back in 2023 topped 8 days before the S&P. Before the S&P made this move, the NASDAQ already topped 8 days. If you go to 2024, the NASDAQ topped 5 days before the S&P. So if you think about it like a hierarchical structure, Bitcoin typically, not always, typically tops first, followed by the NASDAQ, then the S&P. If you just think about it in 2021, November, you had Bitcoin top first. I think it was November 8th. 2-3 weeks later, the NASDAQ tops. Within 48 or 72 hours of Bitcoin topping, the Russell topped. So you can look at these things as indicators as a trader. Man, I missed that Bitcoin trade. It looks like it's topping and rolling over. Few days later, week later, day later, NASDAQ top starts rolling over, then go to the S&P and see what the S&P is doing. Is it at confluence for resistance? Are you expecting it to roll over? Because if Bitcoin rolls and a NASDAQ rolls, you got a third opportunity to get on the S&P and get a trade, okay? And let's look at 2024. You went sideways in June. You broke out July 2nd for a 4% rally. And again, 2024, 5 days, okay? The S&P did not top for 5 days until 5 days after the NASDAQ futures top, NQ, okay? Then you got a sharp ABC. Once again, you had alternation here in the actual market for the corrections. So that's what I'm thinking, guys. 8-hour time frame on ES. A couple other Fibonacci patterns lined up beautiful here as well. I'm recording this on Sunday, obviously. Markets are closed. A couple other patterns lined up. Look at the confluence here, 64.58, 65.29 with a couple other Fibonacci patterns. So you want to try to hold, I would say, above 6,200. If we get more selling, if we do something like this, right, chop back around, and then watch July 10th, that pivot. Because if we start coming up July 10th, that's where you're going, guys. The same target we have had for months, okay? And you know that watching this channel. So watch and see what happens here over the course of the next few days. But that's the summer rally target. Does it have to get hit? Nothing has to do anything. That's what I think is going to happen based on the prior fractals. Let's look at the spider. What does that mean for the spider? For those of you that trade the ETF, well, that means I think you're coming up to 642 to 655 on the spider. Same type of geometry going on here on the spider, guys. It's basically just a proxy here for the S&P. 200% off the pandemic low if you come up to 60 or 655. And then, of course, 36.5% to fill the void here to come up to 655. And, of course, over here, matching the void move, 36% if the spider comes up to 655. Look at 642 to 655 for your summer rally, okay? Then the retracement, when the S&P retraces, then the big move up, 695, let's just call it 700, and 750 as your two next potential targets. So you definitely, when this thing retraces and bottoms, if you trade the spider, you want to be looking at longs, in my humble opinion. That's what I would do, not financial advice. What about the Qs? The Qs are coming right up against resistance at 559, which makes sense because when we get to the NASDAQ futures here, you're going to see it right up at massive pattern resistance. So you have 559 here at the Qs. This could come up to 587 depending if it participates in the summer rally or if it just starts going sideways and maybe only the S&P rallies. We'll see how it plays out. You're at 556 here. And again, look at the math here on the Qs. 240% off of the pandemic low. To fill that void, 37% move. 120% off of the 2022 low, exactly half of the pandemic low. You see how this works? 39% to fill this at 559, right? And you're almost there. 39, almost matching your 37. So you see the market symmetry throughout the markets when you look at them. Let's look at the New York FANG for a second. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the New York FANG, everybody talks about the Mag 7. I like the FANG. Exit and I have been talking about this for a while in the Discord. So New York FANG is equally weighted 10 tech stocks. It's the Mag 7 plus Netflix plus Snowflake plus Broadcom. And just to give you an idea, it's returned an average of 28%, I believe, since 2014. Not an advertisement for it. I'm just saying if you're stuck trading ETFs because that's all you can trade, when you get the pullback in the New York FANG, you may want to look into it. What's that up right now, by the way? Off that low, right? Off the April 7th low, what is that? 53%. Just to put it in perspective, guys, an average year return in the S&P is 8 to 10%. An average year. Went up 53% in a couple of months. And the FANG, because again, it's heavily weighted to those tech stocks. But what I wanted to point out was you're coming right up to 15,149 right up here, okay, 15,149. You're at 15,063. Could come up to 15,826 if tech participates in the summer rally for that top. Come up to this level and then start rolling back down, okay? This is kind of like my broader metric for tracking the beta tech, especially in the AI space, even though I guess Netflix is an AI, but it's a very popular stock to trade. Look at the NASDAQ futures. Again, geometry, 250% off the pandemic low. 120%, almost half here off the 2022 low. Fill the void, 37.5% move. Over here off the April 7th low, 40% move. And that's all right where it kissed. Look at that beautiful kiss, 23,050, which was our target for our ABC. And as a matter of fact, how close did you hit it? 23,102, $52 overthrow on a $23,000 plus asset, okay? $52 overthrow, and you got rejected there. Doesn't mean it can't come back up, especially if it participates in the summer rally, but just understand how everything tracks in this space. It's all about expansion and contraction, market geometry. I'm the only one trading the markets like this on YouTube, so definitely watch this and check out our Discord if you want to learn how to trade with these patterns as well. But look at July, guys. Again, July, this is a 5-day chart. There's your July. There's your retracement. Again, that was mid-July back in 2023. Late July, or early July, I should say, because it was 5 days before the S&P. July 11th, you topped in 2024. And again, July 10th is a pivot date coming up. Put the pieces of the puzzle together. See how the NASDAQ reacts. Simplified version, we're at key resistance, 23,050. We're going to retrace, whether we come up some more or not. We're going to retrace. That retracement, I'm looking to fill our gap, our capitulation gap on the daily, 20,288, somewhere between the 382, the 50% retracement. And that's somewhere around 20,005 down to 19,500, somewhere in there, that 1,000-point range is where I think you're going to drop to. And what is that retracement level? Assuming it doesn't go up more from here, it could easily go up more. You're looking at 13, 14, 15%. Remember, the NASDAQ will always retrace at a larger beta than the S&P. Bitcoin will always retrace at a 2 to 3 beta of the NASDAQ. NASDAQ drops 15%. What do you think Bitcoin's going to do when it hits its peak? It's 132 and then drops. It's going to drop 2 to 3x of whatever the NASDAQ drops. Let's look at the NQ futures here, last chart. Looking at this here, 8-hour time frame, there's our key resistance from our larger pattern. If we participate in the summer rally and you have more upside, watch 23,424. Watch 23,623. I think these two levels are potentially going to be your two levels to watch if we participate in the summer rally, okay? Key resistance, 23,033. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hope to see you guys in the Discord. Talk to you when I get the next video out. I'll be making content for the room this week still. So if you check out the Discord, I will be there as always. Take care, guys.